For over half of my career of fishing, I failed at catching bass and understanding the power of the lipless crankbait in the winter. And in this video, I'm going to share with you guys how my mistakes I have learned from, and now I understand the power of this lure in the winter. We're going to go over understanding the lipless crankbait and how it is meant to be fished. I'm also going to go on the water and talk about certain areas and stuff that I look for from boat positioning. And then at the end of the video, we're going to talk about areas to fish this guy. Okay, guys, I love the lipless crankbait, and I mainly love it probably because I went so long and couldn't catch fish with it and didn't understand and just struggled with it. And then when I kind of figured it out and it all started coming together over about a 2 to 3 year period, man, I now love this in the winter. Now, guys, before we get into the lipless crankbait, I'm just going to share with you guys, I'm now affiliated with Fish USA. Fish USA is a tackle website with a bunch of tackle, more than what you need. And guys, I have an affiliate link. It's in the description. If you want to help support me and the YouTube channel and what I do, go down to the link, and you can use that link, click it, and then go on to the website and order, and then I get a % of the commission back. So guys, if you want to support me in what I do, check that out. If you have any questions, man, just leave me a comment down there in the description. Okay, guys, the lipless crankbait. I know it's also called a rattle trap. Before somebody on here gets at me and says rattle trap, okay? I always called it a rattle trap growing up, but then as I got in the fishing industry and talking to other pros, man, it just seems like lipless crankbait is just the more of the generic term, okay? So I'm just gonna put that out there right away. Now, guys, the biggest thing about this is that I messed up is not knowing how shallow fish can get in the winter. And also not just shallow, but guys, you know, let's say they're on the bottom, and let's say they're in that 4 to 8 foot zone. You're reeling this above their head, they will come up and eat it. That's one of my biggest things that I struggled with understanding. And now that I have confidence in it. So for example, if you're fishing a, let's say it's a 45-degree rock bank or a flatter bank and there's a rock transition, guys, you're reeling this above their heads and they will come up and eat this. Now, as we're gonna talk about, there are different retrieves you can do. You can, you know, yo-yo it off the bottom, you can sweep it, you can reel this on the bottom. But there are times, guys, where you're fishing this in that 2 to 3 foot zone, you are banging this off the rocks and creating reaction strikes. But also with it, guys, if you're fishing it around cover, those fish around cover, and they're looking up, you know, they're going to come up and get this guy, okay? But something about this action in them cold water temperatures, man, gets them bass to bite. Now, I have a bunch of different lipless crankbaits. I've just shown you those two, and we're going to talk about colors and stuff. You know, this is the Yozuri. This is a Booyah. Booyah, I don't know if that's the one knocker or their other one. I got them variety. The Strike King Red Eye Shad, okay? And then right here, we have the 6 Sense Quake as well. So I'm not just stuck to one lipless crankbait. But guys, my biggest thing is in that clear water, it is a different story. But in that stained to muddy water, guys, they can be shallow. They can be anywhere in the winter, 45-degree temps and above. They can be 10 foot or less, depending on your area of the lake and where you're fishing. Mainly your river sections of the lakes, the back of the creeks, or your more stained creeks is where this is going to, you know, thrive at. If it's clear water, guys, you're going to need wind. Wind's always a plus in the clear water, and you might have to back off your boat a little bit, okay? And it depends on your lake as well. Like, I know some lakes I fish, there is grass, okay? And that grass might be out there in 20 foot, right? It might be in 20 foot and it comes up to 10. And guys, this as well too, you can let this sink and then you can yo-yo it, you can rip it, reel it off the edge of that grass, and guys, it will get fish to bite. But one of the biggest things about it too is you're gonna have to go search. This is a search lure. Search, search, search. You're gonna have to do a lot of fishing, okay? There are days, I've had days with this where we've caught 50 fish, okay? I'm talking February, sleeting outside, but there's also days when you only catch 7 fish. And even times, there are times, I'm gonna show you some clips here, your biggest bass might be the first hour to 2 hours of the morning with this. Now, that middle part of the day, I've caught big bass with this as well. But that first mistake that I made that I didn't realize is how this is a suspending lure, and you're fishing it up in that water column, and them fish are coming up to get it. Okay, guys, now let's go on the water, and I'm going to talk about on the water stuff that I like to do and a couple different little retrieves. Water temperature is 46 degrees. I think it's 27 air temperature right now. And they're eating lipless crankbait. Okay, guys, we're about to talk about just different little retrieves and just kind of what I'm looking for when I'm up here fishing the lipless crankbait, guys. We have a bank, and it's a 45-degree bank, and there are, as you see, some rock transitions or different types of rock. But right now, the thing about this spot that I like is how it's deeper right here. That channel is kind of swinging, all right? but then it gets flatter up there. And up there on the flatter stuff is really what I'm liking to look for. And we kind of have a little bit of a drain up here. Now though, what I'm gonna talk about is like the depth and where to throw it, okay? Because that's one thing I know a lot of people ask, and what I did not really understand is like, hey, you can throw this dude up there on the bank, okay? Now, water right now today is 49 degrees. If it is 50 degrees to 52, 53, I might even be closer, right? And depending on the day, if it's a sunny day and it warms up, I'm gonna be closer up here on it. But you see guys, how I'm putting it up there? I mean, hey, they can be up there, okay? In them rocks. Now, once again, sunny days and it gets warmer, I might move up. But if that water's 45 to 50, I'm gonna stay further off the bank and then find out the depth that they're gonna be in, okay? And you always hear about, do I parallel the bank or do I not? Guys, there are times like we have figured out the depth they're in when I have people fishing with me, because I'm not paralleling it exactly and I'm more off the bank, and then I try to figure out that zone they are in. And guys, like I said, it's like up here, like I'm in 20 now. 20 is perfect. And I'm looking at my live scope there, and I'm not trying to, I mean, I learned this all without live scope, but guys, I just had 3 fish follow it. Okay, and now before live scope, how many times do you know when they're following it? Those are big fish too. So, those are pretty big fish, wow. All right, so, one thing too now is I get up here flatter, you see it, you see we kind of have this little drain right here, a flat drain. Do not be afraid to throw that dude down the middle and then start reeling, okay? Now, I really will change up my speeds. I really like, I mean, I almost reel this thing fast. You know, some people think it's too fast in the winter, but when it starts getting real cold, I will slow down. And the other couple retrieves I've tried is, and the one that I like that Matt talks about is that sweep retrieve. I know I've talked about it in videos before, and I won't sweep the whole time, but for like example, I'll throw it there in them rocks, okay? Gonna let it sink, and then I'm just gonna sweep it up. I know there's brush up there, and I don't need to get hung up in the brush. Not the best example. Let me reel this in real quick before I get up there. We're doing this live and uncut, guys. I'm not. Ooh, there's a fish in there. Wow, I might need to come back throw that. That fish just chased it out. It's not supposed to be with a live scope. Quit looking at it. So here we go. Throwing it up there. All right, so throw it up there, and then we're gonna get it tight and then retrieve it. Now for me, this is better when the water is colder, okay? And like I know up here in the south, we don't get it super cold. And you know, like I know where some places are up in the north, so I don't really have to worry about the going just too cold at times. Guys, but when you do learn as you reel this thing, I mean, sometimes a faster or a good retrieve, man, you're pulling it away from them fish and you're making them curious. And then if there's other fish around, potentially, they're gonna go fight for it. Now guys, you see right here, this is stained water, if you can tell. Stained is perfect, okay, for the Lipless Crankbait. I have not had as much success in the clean water. Now, if it's windy and you're in clean water, yes. And that's when I'm gonna be more further off the bank. I know I'm fishing the lakes with grass now, and it is great in grass, okay? But if it's just clear rock, man, I've just not had as much success with it. But when there is grass present, it is, of course, a different story. Guys, and on rods, I'm gonna talk about rods real quick. I've done anything from a 7.2 to 7.3, even a 7.1. You know, a medium heavy cranking style rod, good fast tip. I know some guys want a thicker rod if you're fishing the grass, which is fine as well. But guys, now let's go to the studio and talk about different areas to throw the Lipless Crankbait. Guys, let's now go get more into areas on the Lipless Crankbaits. Okay, I already talked about, for me, I prefer that stained muddy water. You can catch it in clear water though. I've caught them in clear water, okay? Wind is a big key in the clear water, and it can be a timely deal. You know, let's say a couple days prior, you have sunny conditions, them rocks can get warmer, or that grass or wood, whatever you are fishing. I love fishing this around wood. I know a lot of guys don't. I do, okay? But something, just think about the days prior. If it's sunny, and then all of a sudden you fish a day that's cloudy and windy, that clear water, it can come through, okay? But stained water, to me, has had more of the success. Now, areas, okay? I love rounded points fishing these things. It could be flat, long points too, but I like throwing this more along the flatter surfaces. I really do. I've learned the more flatter surfaces, I do a better job with fishing this. Now, the main source of cover is rock, okay? As I mentioned, those guys, timber, and grass it can still be caught in. I love throwing this in timber, okay? There's some really good anglers, guys, that don't like throwing this in timber because of the factor of it getting hung up so much. I'm just okay with it because I know them fish are, you know, either on the bases or they're suspended around the timber, and this is a great way to, with the action of it, and it's a great way to create reaction strikes and get the big bass to bite. So that's just the cover. So rounded points. Off the rounded points, though, typically there's a little bit of a drain or a ditch, okay? And depending on the cover, it could be a different rock transition. You can have that hard rock or big chunk rock to pea gravel and then to chunk rock. Guys, that's a transition, okay? There could be grass there too, by the way, guys, for my Arkansas dudes that like to fish Lake Ouachita, okay? There might be grass there also. So, guys, with it too, though, let's say you're fishing more of a flatter surface, okay? Lowland Reservoir, for example, a flatter surface in the back of a creek or the mouth of a creek. If that ditch is coming along it, or if that ditch is going through it, guys, like my Rayburn people, you know what I'm talking about, right? Them drains and them ditches. This right here is one of the big areas I like to throw it. Now, once again, for me, guys, I don't throw it super deep, okay? There are people that do, though. Just the water I fish in the areas I fish, I've had more success in the shallower water. Like I said, even in the winter, okay, guys? Lake Millwood, for example, southwest Arkansas, there's a trip, man, might have been 2 years ago. February, okay? Water temp's 44 degrees. We're fishing in 3 to 4 foot of water. We're fishing in 2 to 3 foot of water, but that ditch was in 4 to 5. It was a flat on the main lake. And guys, them fish were in that ditch. You bring this thing over it, they would eat it. They wouldn't eat a bladed jig that way too. By the way, guys, I don't know. Now, on that flat were stumps, okay? That was a source of cover. Guys, one thing that I know, Kevin Van Dam, when he won the classic Lake, I hope I say it right, Beeswax Creek was the creek. He was throwing this dude around the stumps. There's grass and stumps. He was purposely hitting the stumps and trying to rip it off. And I remember reading it in the Bassmaster articles, guys, that, and this is when I was young. KVD won that classic in like 08, 07, I don't want to be wrong, maybe 10 or 11, I don't know, during his run of his heyday. But when he won it with this lure, and he was getting hung up on them stumps, he was even cutting the line and breaking them off because he, of course, had hundreds in the boat. He could do that. Me and you guys can't. Okay, so getting it on around the stumps is a good factor as well. Now, guys, as you saw, I have a couple different options here. The red and yellow kind of patterns, red and chartreuse, are good. I love the crawfish patterns. I do have a box of the gold and black and like the shad kind of patterns as well. But in the winter, I'm going red. As you see, I have a couple different reds here. Another red, this is the Oziri, but another red that I like is like it's red and then white. I have some of those actually in my other room over there as well. But guys, hopefully this video has helped you with the Lipless Crankbait. Like I said, I was one of those guys that failed throwing it for many, many years. And then now, you know, when I kind of started figuring it out, and it then was like a 2 to 3, 4 year period where it all started coming together. So hopefully this video helped you guys. Leave me in the comments what you think about the video, any questions, or anything about the Lipless Crankbait. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.